Hey, everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. Today, we're going to show some love to the rhythm section. I got my man Al T. Berry here from Baltimore. There you go. East Coast guy. We're going to have a good time. This guy's a hopping bass player, and he's had a great, successful career. Couple of quick announcements. David Levita, thank you very much for connecting us, our mutual friend. Also, make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com/subscribe to subscribe to the show. And if you're already watching us on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button with the little emoji that looks like a bell, because that helps us get recommended by YouTube. And thanks for your support on that. I'll tell you a little bit about Al. LA session bass player, composer, and vocalist. He's either toured and or played with Avril Lavigne, 98 Degrees, Lisa Marie Presley, Kesha, David Archuleta, Kelly Clarkson, John Waite, Lionel Richie, Ric Ocasek, Nile Rodgers, Nick Lachey, Clay Aiken, Christina Aguilera, Tina Marie, Stuart Copeland, Lou Gramm, Bobby Womack, Ben Sidran, Lenny Kravitz, B.B. King, John Waite, Bernard Edwards, and dozens of others. He also was the only bassist to play on the Family Style record with Jimmy Vaughan and Stevie Ray Vaughan, and he was brought in to do overdubs on the posthumous Stevie Ray Vaughan records. He also played on the soundtrack of the movies Crash, and if you haven't seen that movie, I'd encourage you to check it out. It's a really cool movie. Silent Trigger, Thelma and Louise, and he's performed on pretty much every major television talk show with many of the artists mentioned. And I want to thank him because we just had a glitch. I'm talking anyway. Thank you.
Oh, good.
Thanks, brother.
You know what's funny? That the song that was on the soundtrack for Crash, I wrote that song.
Did you really?
Not only did I write it, but I performed it. That was the song that was supposed to be what we thought was going to be a hit off my second solo record, Take the Pain Away.
Yeah, we'll talk about that, because that's a pretty good, that's a really intense single.
That's a great movie, man.
Did you get to interact with Don Cheadle by any chance?
You know what, man? I love Don Cheadle.
He's like the coolest, isn't he?
I didn't. Two guys that I really want to meet. And it's funny because one of them, I just missed him. Samuel L. Jackson and I had the same dentist.
He lived in the projects like in Hell's Kitchen. He was a security guard, and he just
I lived in Hell's Kitchen for a couple of months when it was still called Hell's Kitchen and not Clinton.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's funny.
All right, so Samuel L. Jackson, Don Cheadle. Let's put it out to the universe.
Yeah, man.
There you go, man.
Miles Ahead. Have you seen Miles Ahead?
Yeah. Why do I know that?
The movie about Miles Davis. Don Cheadle plays Miles Davis in that movie.
Yes, I did see. I saw parts of that.
Oh yeah, you got to see the whole. You got to see it. It's good.
Miles Ahead. All right. And I put on my. You told me about the Bee Gees document. I put that on last night. I put that on my list. I asked my wife. I said, "Hey, can you want to watch the Bee Gees document?" She goes, "No." No, I'm going to watch it when I'm on the treadmill.
I bet you she'll love it. It's very surprising.
Is it?
It's you and I talked a little bit before about the journey of ups and downs.
Yeah.
Everybody has them, man. I don't care how big you are. Everybody goes through it. And it's really interesting because the way that they persevered through theirs, it meant everything to their success. And it's a really great story. Check it out. It's cool.
I will. The Bee Gees documentary. All right. Tell me, Al, how'd you first get started in the music business, and what was your first break?
Well, I first got started, I was messing around on drums and percussion. My mom put me in one of those summer programs where you have cultural arts programs. You get like the bag lunch and the apple, and we go find. It's during the summer, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
One of those things that was when in the 70s when they actually had money for music programs.
Yeah.
And so I fell in love with percussion, and then I think I chose percussion and art. And I fell in love with percussion. I started learning how to play congas and bongos, and I begged and begged for drums because a drum player came in like the last day of this cultural arts program with the whole drum kit, and I was like, that's what I want to do. But my mom was a single mom, and the possibility of me actually being able to get a real drum set was just like God was going to have to come down from heaven, and we're going to hit the lottery or something, or like I don't know, something major was going to happen. Eventually, I finally did. And I started playing drums and started playing guitar. And then when my mother passed away from cancer, I moved in with my aunt, who encouraged me to raise enough money to buy this guitar I wanted, and she'd pay for the other half. That was the one thing that got me really focused on playing music in bands. Also, around that time in my junior high school that I went to, um, it was a woman who was very, very important. Her name was Miss Ross. And she had an after school program that she started on her own dime for kids who were not necessarily concert band musicians, but guys who wanted to play music. And she basically spent about 2 hours after school, 2 days a week, so that we can come in with our guitars and drums and mess around. But her only request for us to be a part of that program was that we had to sign a contract saying that we would audition to get into Frederick Douglass High School, which was the only school in Baltimore with a music program at the time.
That's cool.
Yeah, every single one of us that was a part of her after school jam program. And she actually worked it out that we could actually open for the choir or band at different concerts as we got better. So she integrated us into what wasn't even a curriculum at the time, for non-band musicians,
And a woman like that is like an angel in your life.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I know. Let me tell you what. She taught me so much about discipline, and we were a bunch of kids. We didn't have a lot of money. She says, all you need is a pair of clean black pants and a clean white shirt. And I'm going to give you a black tie if you don't have a black tie. And when you show up, I just want you to show up clean. If you don't have a washing machine, wash it in your tub. Dry it out with the dryer. I don't want any excuses. Show up on time. And she was serious, man. And she taught us about discipline. And if you really want to do something, putting your effort, your mind into it, and you would get there. And she also held us to, and I did. So I auditioned to get into Frederick Douglass High School on guitar and vocals because I sang. I was in the choir as well, and I got in. And at the time, there was no other music and arts high school in Baltimore. A couple of years later, they opened the Baltimore School for the Arts, and that's where the Jada Pinkett Smith and Tupac Shakur went. But they were younger than me. I almost transferred, but I stayed at my school because I thought it was more music focused. School of the Arts had more theater and dance and acting and some other things that I thought could, but I was honestly just so, and I was already there. That was my crew, So I stayed at Douglass High School, played in a bunch of bands in Baltimore. One of my big breaks happened for me. I joined a band. There was this band in Baltimore called the Ravens. And their claim to fame at the time was they had a song that became a hit for them on the Fast Times at Ridgemont High soundtrack, which is
I remember that
movie, right? Yeah. So it was a song called "Raised on the Radio."
Yeah, I remember that song.
That band, the Ravens,
very popular.
Was absolutely. So they broke up, but the lead singer and the drummer recruited me as a bass player and another guitar player to start this band called Big Noise. So we were kind of the next offshoot of this rock and roll band. And so we were playing around, Baltimore at all the clubs. And we kind of, there was nowhere else for us to go, And the lead singer had already started doing stuff in New York, some jingle work and stuff. And so he was like, listen, guys, there's a major showcase coming up in New York and we need to go do it for a bunch of labels. Cool, we're in. It's one to do.
And you're how old at the time?
I was about, 20. 19, 20.
Wow, that's pretty.
Yeah,
that's like really together.
Dude, you know what's funny, Matt? I told you that my junior high school teacher had already instilled such a discipline in me. And then once I got into high school and realized I could make it into the music program, the sky was sort of the limit. And when you're 15 years old, there's a thing about you can rule the world.
Yeah.
But you can rule the world.
Yeah.
When you're really, really, really focused about doing something, man, and you really put your attention to it, and I think the universe reacts in this way as well.
Well, let me ask you one more question before you go forward.
Yeah.
Single mom passes, which I'm sorry, that's tough. Yes, that had to be tough.
Oh, that was real tough.
How did you, that's the perfect storm for losing your shit.
It was a perfect storm for losing my shit. And I was almost headed that way.
How did you keep it together? And how, your work ethic, man?
It was a miracle, man, because I told you right behind my aunt's house was the basketball court where all the real deal shit was going down. Drugs. And I totally could have been a 15-year-old dad, bro.
Yeah.
I was having sex way earlier than I should have been. It was so much distraction, drinking. I think I had already been drinking and smoking cigarettes by the time I was 14 and quit by the time I was 16. Check that out.
I know that's normal. I'm not laughing. That's normal city living, though.
Well, just because I didn't want it in my life, but I'd seen a relative OD, bro. I'd seen so much around me that I was like, that's not what I want for me.
That's a miracle though, because it's almost, impossible to, I mean, honestly, it's like a miracle or a credit to you for sure.
Well, it's a series of really interesting, because I was telling a story a couple weeks ago to somebody about how even when I was in junior high school, I had become friends with this guy who really became sort of a protector to me. He was like a cool bully.
Right.
He loved me. He liked me.
Right.
And one time I got my ass kicked on a bus because of some jealous dude. Three dudes just jumped me on the back of a bus, man, and like threw my shoe out the window. And I was like, why the hell did that happen? I found out later on it was jealousy. But so this buddy who I met a couple weeks before that, and this is how I met him. I'm walking down the hall in junior high school singing the lyrics to Rapper's Delight. Hip hop, hippie to hip hip hop, you don't stop a rockin' to the bang bang, but right. And he hears me and he goes, "Oh, you're down with that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So I said, I pull out a sheet of paper, like a loose leaf paper. I'm like, "Yeah, I think I got most of the lyrics." He pulls out two and goes, "I got the whole thing." And he's like a dude who looks like a semi-pro football player already at 16.
In junior high.
In high school, and his name was Walter Jenkins. Instantly, him and I became best. I was a skinny little nerdy guy with glasses on and like, whatever. After he heard that happened to me, he said the money was, well, who are those guys who did that? And I said, those guys. He went over, he said, listen, if you guys fuck with Al Berry again, I'm gonna kick your ass.
Nice.
And that was me through the rest of junior high school was like, dude. And then me and him and I, we started writing all the lyrics to like Curtis Blow, the breaks. Because he was hip hop. I was into everything, but that was just like new at the time.
Right.
Sugar Gang was very new. And so that became a cool thing because other people started coming to us for our pages.
Okay.
Because and back then people don't understand, man. You had to have a cassette deck or a cassette player. You had to wait for the radio to play your song. Then you had to record it.
Yes.
And to learn all the lyrics, you had to rewind and keep playing it over and writing down by hand. It wasn't no way to just all of a sudden go up on Google or whatever and go, I want the lyrics to. So we would literally longhand writing all the lyrics to these songs, directions, and then every now and then, your cassette tapes get messed up. You got to pull out the pencil and you got to pull the, the tape back in. It was a process. But through this process, him and I became really, really good friends. And so that was kind of another hood protection for me.
Yeah. So you had a couple of things fall into place that.
A couple of angels, man.
Yeah, really. No, seriously, they are. I mean, absolutely.
And also, you know what I realized as well, man, is something about me knew that life, I used to lay back in the grass when I was a kid, man, but 5 or 6 years old, and just look up in the sky, and there was nothing that was impossible. And I wanted to see it. I knew there was a big world out there. I knew there were different people. My family was a very integrated family. And thank God I didn't come from a racist background. My mom was really fair skinned. My dad was really dark, but I have, one of my favorite cousins that I played with in West Virginia during the summer had blonde hair and blue eyes. So the world to me, even though I lived in the inner city, that was probably 90% black where I lived.
Right.
That wasn't my most intimate vision of what the world was.
Okay.
In the summertime, man, I'd go to West Virginia and listen to country music. And I'd listen to I grew up with Hee Haw, listening to Roy Clark too. And, I knew John Denver and, and so I had all the urban music in the city, and as well back then, remember before genres, man, radio just play, you could hear
Earth, Wind and Fire followed by Deep Purple,
Kiss or whatever. You hear if you listen to AM radio back in the day, it wasn't black music, it wasn't hip hop, it wasn't soul, it wasn't rock, it was just music.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So I think it was the magic of the time too. And plus it was interesting because even back then, people don't remember, like I was born in 65. So growing up in the 70s was very different, man. You still had post hippie.
Yeah.
Bell bottoms. You still had Hendrix, and you still had Prince was coming in. You still had the Rolling Stones, and you had Bowie. So I was open because of the diversity of my family. I was open to so much information. So it made the world a bigger place even.
Gotcha.
So like I had dreamed to visit England one day, or to one day go to Japan, or to go, but how was I going to get there? I wasn't really thinking about it, but I knew for sure that music was definitely a vehicle that started opening doors for me immediately, man. It's almost like as soon as I started following the path, things started to happen. Things started to manifest, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to mow a lot of lawns to come up with the $75, to get the other 75 from my aunt to get that first guitar. But you know what? When she saw I was serious about it, not only did she get me the guitar, but she got me the amp and she got me a strap. Later on, she became manager, dude, of some of my bands when I was in high school.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So it was almost like you were what you were doing what you're supposed to do, and the universe was supporting it.
Yeah, and you know what? When I wasn't, anytime I knew it felt right and I knew it didn't feel right. I've had this really
That's cool.
cool gift. I'm gonna call it a gift because I've carried it through my life and I hope I continue to. Man, I've been 2 minutes away from the worst situation. I know when to leave. I've been in the wrong place at the right time. I've been at the right place at the wrong time, and I've left at the perfect time. I could have been in situations where I could have been killed.
Sure.
I've literally, like I told you about the story in the Bronx, where I'm walking across the street with my baby.
That was pretty amazing.
Yeah, I feel these footsteps behind me, dude. I mean, come on, bro.
I'm
literally thinking I'm gonna get.
You're on your way to getting jacked.
There's no good way to look at that. I'm gonna break my instrument to save my life and lose it. But then I walk up to the corner and there's a police car there.
Yeah.
Wow. Who? I can't make that happen.
No, that's yeah.
You know what I mean? So my journey was always that way. I went through a whole lot of pain when my mom passed away.
I can remember.
My cousins were older than me, and I started doing what they were doing. I was going to parties with them, and I started smoking weed and smoked cigarettes for about a year and a half, and started drinking with them and stuff like that. But even the people around them, once they saw that I had stopped all that stuff, there was no judgment upon me. Like, he thinks he's better than us.
Okay.
Honestly, I think a lot of those guys saw that they saw this young man going in a more positive direction with his life. And I really do believe that even people who are in the dirt and doing bad things, when they see people on a positive streak, they would rather encourage the positive streak than pull them into the negative. It's a lot of movies we see where a lot of these kids on the streets want to deal with somebody and they're like, no, you don't want on this, young blood.
Yeah.
Those guys, that's the real serious first response. But then after 3 or 4 times, somebody comes back, when somebody picks up a gun, it flips the whole page. I think I knew in my mind that was a real life situation. Like, because I had a friend, man, a guy who I started becoming friends with when I was probably about 12 or 13. And I remember he became a dad at 15, man. Yeah.
I couldn't imagine. I mean,
and it changed everything. I was like, oh my God. He's like, he just got a girl pregnant. She's a baby. He's a baby.
Yeah.
And obviously the mom had to take care of the baby. He had to get a job and go to school. And then he started selling drugs on the side because it wasn't enough money. That was just not a good scenario, man.
Yeah, right. There's no,
Yeah, so I had to sort of take kind of inventory of what was going on around me and my situation and find a much healthier approach.
But that you had that wherewithal to do at that age, it is a gift, man, for sure. Definitely, man.
I don't know if it was so much wherewithal as much as it was a desperation to find what set me on fire in my heart, like what my passion really was.
Yeah, okay.
I found it.
Yeah.
And once I found it, I never turned away from it. You know what I mean? Like once I found there was no point, period, after 15 years old where I was like, plan B. Never once.
Right.
My dad tried to get me into like the ROTC and Job Corps and stuff like that before I went to high school because, my dad's a Vietnam veteran. And, he thought, okay, let's get a kid into the military because it's opportunity. He won't be in the streets, it's college, all that kind of stuff. Even once he saw me get in the bands and get into high school and how serious I was about it, and we were actually making money doing gigs at 15 and 16 years old. He was like, okay, wait a minute. This might be something real for you. But he was always the one to always be like, well, I'd ask him like, what do you think about this? What do you think about our band? He goes, well, you guys are cool, but that band right there, they're bad. Like he was always like up the game. He was real about it though. You know what I mean? So it always kept like he was never like, oh, you guys suck, but he was just like, you got to keep going. You got places to go.
Which is great. Which is really great.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sorry to cut you off. Talk about you were with the Ravens now, and then they asked you to do
Oh yeah. So we go to New York.
Yeah, the showcase.
And we played for, it was a bunch of labels at the time. They used to call them Battle of the Bands or Band Showcase. And this one was under the guise of a Battle of the Bands, but it was a showcase for major labels. It was at the Cat Club, and that was one of my first trips to New York as a player. I'd been in New York as a singer before, on a trip with a choir, all state choir doing a competition, but in a rock band. We're at the Cat Club. We play our set. And it was a very, very, very serendipitous thing to happen. It was very magical because we played our show. The guy who was mixing our show for us was a friend of the lead singer who had already been doing a little bit of jingle work in New York at the time. He said to me after the show, "Hey man, I like your plan. I like your vibe. You're a good player." He goes, "If you ever think about coming here, I'd love to hook you up with some stuff. I have a band I did some stuff with, and I'd hook you up with some work." And it had already been in my head because I felt like I could go as far as I could go in Baltimore.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, and I'd already played the tri-state areas. We played Ocean City, Maryland. We had played Pennsylvania. We had played Delaware, D.C., the 930 Club. We'd done the whole scene. Anyway, shortly after that, another guy walks up to me, man, taps me on the shoulder. He goes, "Hey, man," he goes, "I really enjoy your playing." He goes, "My name is Bobby Chavanard." Bobby, he was Billy Squier's drummer.
Okay.
So Bobby,
Larry Mitchell.
Yep.
Yeah.
Check this out. Small world.
Yes.
Bobby says to me, "Billy Squire is looking for a new bass player, and he's going to have an audition in about a month. Can I get your name? Because I'd love for you to come out, man. I think you'd be a good fit for the band."
Wow, that's pretty cool. That was at the height of Billy Squire.
Yeah.
Early on.
Yeah. Billy Squire was a big rock star at that time.
Yeah.
I go back to Baltimore. It's a no-brainer. But I'm a dad at this time. I become a young dad. I'm a dad now.
Okay.
Literally right before I turned 21, I became a dad.
Wow.
But it's funny how it all works out. Yeah. So I said, yeah, I'll do the audition. So they sent me the stuff. I'm going through learning it. I catch a train, get an Amtrak to New York. I do the audition. And they say, "Yeah, man, we like you, and there's this other guy too. So let's see what happens." The other guy was a New York guy. Turns out that the other guy was the guy who was the bass player in the band at the front of house engineer for our set that night.
Okay.
It was called Ansonia. This guy named Alfredo Scotti. Elaine Caswell was the lead singer in that band, who's a really well-known jingle singer in New York. Also sang back on with Cyndi Lauper for a long time.
Okay.
Obviously, Sterling was in Cyndi Lauper's band. Sorry. So Skylar is his name. Skylar got the Billy Squire gig. I didn't get it.
Okay.
So it came down to both of us. But I replaced Skylar in the band Ansonia.
Okay.
That was my New York first gig. I was still living in Baltimore, man. I had to drive 2.5 hours to New York to get to rehearsal.
Wow.
Because I hadn't moved yet. Yeah. And then, and so we were doing just limited amounts of gigs. We weren't doing a whole lot of gigs because Elaine was pretty busy with her career, and they were trying to get a deal. But then I ended up joining this band called Diving for Pearls, and then I finally moved to New York.
Okay.
And then when I got to New York, I just started trying to do as much as I could, man. I'd done a couple of gigs with Ansonia. Diving for Pearls was rehearsing. We were trying to get a record deal. A couple of us worked at the Hard Rock Cafe. And then, we were and I was at a Lita Ford record release party. I was a busboy at the Hard Rock Cafe, waiting to get the waiter gig because that paid more money. I was at a Lita Ford release party, and I was working the room upstairs. And the room upstairs is kind of where a lot of the celebrities and record people are, and just keeping tabs and stuff and make sure everybody's cool. You need anything, and this guy walks up to me and goes, "Man, you got a vibe. I can tell you do something else. Like, what do you do?" And I said, "Well, I'm a singer and a bass player and I write, and I'm kind of in a band, but I don't know how far it's gonna go, but I'm trying to do my thing here, man." He says, "Cool." He goes, "I'm a songwriter, and I'm from L.A. and I'm doing a record, and with Nile Rodgers. Nile Rodgers is gonna produce my record." And he goes, "Man, let's get together sometime and write." He goes, because I really don't know a lot of people here, and I'd love to just see if we can vibe on some stuff. This guy's name was Chris McDaniels. His artist name was Christopher Max. His
Okay.
father was Eugene McDaniels, who wrote "Feels Like Making Love for You" for Roberta Flack, and
Oh,
great.
wow.
Yeah, yeah. So I meet him at a Lita Ford release party at the Hard Rock Cafe as
That's so,
I'm busting tables, bro. Right.
that's serendipitous, man. That's pretty cool.
So I hook up with him a couple weeks later. We start vibing, man. Start writing and playing around with some music and stuff. And I don't know, you always meet somebody. You're always hoping things go somewhere. I swear, man, a month later, I get a phone call and it's Nile on the phone. Yeah, is this Al? I'm like, yeah. He goes, yeah, this is Nile Rodgers. And I'm like, what? Part of me was like gonna hang up.
Like, all right,
Yeah,
Nile.
like your boys from, one of my boys from Baltimore messed with me, right?
Yeah, right,
But
right.
I could hear it. It was his voice. I was like, oh man, cool. He goes, yeah, Chris, tell me about you. He goes, you want to come in and play on this record? We're doing some recording. We're gonna do a session on Monday. If you can come in. I said, I'm absolutely going. I dropped whatever I was doing. I don't care. I got somebody to cover up my. I was like, I'm doing it. And it was interesting because I just parted ways with my band Diving for Pearls at the time. We were having some creative indecision there. And I went in and I played on this song. And Niall was like very happy. He was like, oh man, I love this. This is great. Then about a week later, I came and I played on another song, two songs. And then we finished Chris's record. I became not only his bass player in his band, but it was the first opportunity I ever got to be a musical director. So I
For
took
Chris Smacks, his
Chris
band.
Max, yeah. And we did Soul Train and we did all this stuff. And he had, R&B.
Don Cornelius, that guy was.
Yeah, man.
What was he like? Was he like? Was he?
Well, that was my trip to LA. Remember when I told you my first trip to LA?
Yeah. Was he? What was he like in person?
Don wasn't. He was kind of intimidating, but he was, like James on Good Times.
Yes.
He's kind of the bigger version, especially with that real deep voice.
Yeah.
And Don Cornelius was a tall dude. He was about 6'4", man.
Yeah.
Right.
He seemed pretty physically intimidating.
Yeah. What's your name, son? And it was funny though, man. That was a trip because I was like, LA was different, bro. I mean, it was really, LA does give you that TV vibe. Like New York, it's like rehearsal studios, gigs, rock clubs, rock bars, studios, whatever. But there is sort of a Tinseltown vibe that definitely comes with LA that you don't feel anywhere else. And it's weird because I don't say never anymore.
Right.
I say highly unlikely. I'll tell you why. Because after my first trip to LA, especially hanging out at the China Club in LA, because I'd seen crazier stuff happen in the China Club in LA than I'd seen in New York.
Oh, really?
The bathroom was like a co-ed bathroom. People were doing blow in the stalls and having sex. I mean, dude.
Wow.
And so I was like, whoa. And I said to myself, I'm never going to move to LA. And I'm never going to marry an LA girl. Unfortunately, fortunately, I did both.
Yes, right.
So much beauty in my life because of it. But I had this, LA was like the party city.
Yeah.
Especially back then, bro.
Interesting.
We're talking about, around that time, we're talking about pre-Guns N' Roses, post-Van Halen. We're talking like Sunset Strip, cocaine everywhere. I mean, listen, I'd walk past a lot of cocaine when I was in the China Club. And unfortunately, I didn't do it because I told you I was a dad. I had to get my daughter to private school in the morning. So I always had to be home by 7 in the morning, no matter what.
Right.
Get up, brush my teeth, get my daughter dressed, and get her to get her to school, And so fortunately, I was able to bypass a couple of bad vices I kind of got caught up in along the way, which
that's
I've seen
grateful for.
Bad things to a lot of friends of mine, you know what I mean? And some of them have survived it, but yeah. So that whole moving from Baltimore with Big Noise to doing that Battle of the Bands at the Cat Club, to meeting Bob Chauvinard, to following through and saying to myself, literally my first trip to New York, I get 2 opportunities for work, and one is from like the drummer of a major rock star. I put it all together, like from the basketball court to music to, no, I got to go to New York because I can't stay in Baltimore now. There's nothing else I can do here.
But once you got there and you start, and these things come out of nowhere, you had to say to yourself, all right, this is I'm doing the right. It had to like validate your decision making of coming there. No?
It validated my decision, but quite honestly, like in every situation, I had a mother-in-law that was very, very, very concerned about my financial position and whether I was
Sure.
going to take care of a family, and there wasn't a lot of support in that sense. But I had to overcome a lot of personal adversity, man, to continue pushing forward. Because in music, man, you know what? No matter how good you are, really, nobody takes you seriously till you start making money.
Yeah.
I hate to say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
And even then, sometimes the family,
yeah, they
you
don't
know,
take.
well, what about next year?
Yeah. And every year it could be like that. This is
Yeah.
years where I've made 100 plus. There's been years where I made half of that, man. And
Yeah.
it's tough. Sometimes that is tough, you know.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the things that got my aunt really supportive of me too in my teens. My like from 15 to about 20, everybody knew her. From club owners to bar owners. I mean, she was a major jazz head. Loved jazz. Max Roach was one of her favorite musicians and close friends.
Oh,
So
that's cool.
she took me to clubs when I was 15 years old, man, to see jazz. Because back then you could go with your parent. You know, you're not
Yeah.
gonna you just go and you can be a part of the club scene. It was
Yeah.
just what it was, you know. So when she saw my bands actually getting booked to do gigs, whether it was like at the park or we had this thing called Operation Champ in Baltimore where they pull up a truck with a generator on it with a stage and you get slots to play. And like you can make $150, $200, and you split between 5 and 6 guys in the sound man. It's only $20, but still we were making money.
Yeah.
So once she, you know, at one point we got a van. We had a 40 Econoline van, man. You know, I told my kids I never got a car when I turned 16. I got a van, dude.
Yeah.
You can't be asking some girl to go on a date with a dude with a van with no windows in it. You know, it is not a good look. But we had a PA. You know, we were pretty self-sufficient by the time I was 18 years old, man.
Yeah, that's great.
To go do you know, gigs. And the first time I'd left the country was right after high school. I did a gig, a tour with this group. It was these two groups in Baltimore who were really big. One called First Class and the Soft Tones, both singing groups. First Class and then these other four girls put together me and the drummer and the guitar player of one of my bands. They saw us playing and asked us if we wanted to go to Canada to do this tour with them. It was a thing called Black Star Spectacular. So it was 4 girls and 4 guys. We did everything from the Mills Brothers, the Ink Spots, the Temptations, Diana Ross and Supremes. We did some of the, you know, more immediate pop stuff like the Romantics and Bowie and all that. And we did this show called Black Star Spectacular where they changed outfits and they come out. And so I did that for about, I took off my first year of college because I got a scholarship to do that. That was my
Wow.
first road experience. So that was before Big Noise even. So I literally had about a good 7 serious years, man, of like straight up music experience on every level.
And that made your playing only that much better.
It made my playing not only that much better, but it gave me also an instinct and a sensitivity to different kinds of people, man. Because, you know, I'd seen all, and you know, I've had managers, man, that paid people in blow. And I didn't do blow. And I was like, nah, I need, you know, one of my managers handed me a briefcase one night, man, told me to take it home. On my way home, I heard something rattling around the briefcase. This is no bullshit. I look in the briefcase, there's a gun in there, there's some cocaine in there, and a bunch of cash. I immediately go straight to his house and try to wake him up. I thought he was dead. I put it in his closet behind a bunch of clothes and took the money out that he was supposed to pay me. And I just don't ever do anything like that to me again in your life. You know, he told me he trusted me. And I was like, well, don't anymore. Because if I gotten found or if I
You get pulled over.
I would have been in jail for the rest of my life, man.
Yeah, gun and blow and cash.
So I had. So you talk about the childhood, the good part of the trauma that happens sometimes in situations that you learn so much.
That's the only time you grow, unfortunately, when you
learn,
suffer, when you get pain.
Man,
Yeah.
you learn so much that people can't teach you.
Yeah.
My bullshit detector was like on like 80% when I was like 17 years old.
Right.
I could tell if you were full of shit. I could tell if you were half full of shit. I could tell that you had the money, but you weren't the person to take the money from.
Right.
So there were a lot of different life experiences that came. Which is why I said once I started working with Nile, things became so magical for me. I'm working with one of my, you know, really, I mean, I grew up listening to Chic and the records he produced, you know, Like a Virgin and Let's Dance. And I mean, I knew his playing because I was playing guitar before bass. And, I'm thinking like, this is a hero. And to have somebody show you what music is supposed to look like as a professional and be groomed that way was one of the most beautiful things that happened in my life at that age. Because I really think that sort of the next facet of my journey, I think is going to be more about that for other people.
Tell me maybe one or two things that you learned from working with Nile.
Wow. Wow. Well, as a bass player, one of the things I learned is like how to construct a bass line. See, a lot of people chop up stuff these days, but back then you had to play through whole songs. And one of the things I really learned about playing through whole songs is that you actually, believe it or not, construct a much better feel. And then you actually learn where you need to develop it, you know? And I think that was something that even Nile learned a bit from Bernard, because they were co-producers in Chic. People don't understand that. They weren't like, they were equals.
Right.
Bernard produced Nile. I've seen it happen because I saw when they were working on one of their last records. And I've worked with Bernard as a bass player.
Yeah, he was saying.
Forgetting Grace and Hugh. So they had a very different style. Bernard's style was very like whole song, run it, military. Nile's style was like, I got that. We can just put that where we need to put it. But they work very well together. But one of the things I learned about Nile, and I think through Bernard, is how to construct things and how to build. And I learned a lot of lessons actually from him. Because I did a show with him. It was a VH1 show, and it was called New Visions. Ben Sidran was the host of the New Visions jazz segment. It was on VH1. Nile was the host of the New Visions rock, New Visions soul, and he had a couple of jazz artists. I was the bass player in the house band in that show.
Very cool.
Yeah, so that's where I got to play with Diane Reeves. That's where I got to play with people like Howard Hewitt. That's where I got to play with Stuart Copeland. That's where I got to play with Diane. I got to do so many different types of musics on that show. And back then, it wasn't like we rehearsed in a separate music studio, like to do with The Voice now, before you get to set. We'd show up at set because we just got the song the day before on cassette. And then we do one run through, maybe two. And then it's straight to camera.
Wow.
You're talking about experience?
That's a lot of pressure, man.
Oh, yeah, man. And it's kind of crazy because now I was 23 years old, man. But the pressure was nothing. To me, it was like, this is what it takes. I didn't know any better. So when you don't know any better, it's almost like when you're in a handicap, you might call it a handicap, but what it is, it's like you jump in, man.
Yeah.
It's baptism by fire, some people call it.
Totally.
Or swim. You swim. But that's what the hood is.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Listen, I've never been a fighter, but I've had to learn how to fight to protect my ass. But I'd much rather talk myself out of a fight than fight.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
I sure do.
So it's almost the same mentality. It's like, okay, listen, this is the way it's got to be. We got to get in here and make this happen. And quite honestly, out of all the episodes we did with every artist, it was only one time that there was a little bit of a snag, but it turned out being a perfect snag. And it was beautiful. We did it all live, and literally we only had, at the maximum, we had 2 takes per artist.
Wow.
So that, I've learned so much. I also learned a lot about, I think, how to set up record budgets. Not that I was ever in control of a record budget, but seeing all the processes, seeing pre-production, and to going in the studio, tracking, the rooms. I learned that as well, I think, through the whole process, because I worked on several records with Nile. But I think when we did the Vaughan Brothers record with Stevie Ray Vaughan and Jimmy Vaughan, that was a really, really great learning opportunity for me. I talk a lot about it in the book, Texas Flood, because I thought originally that Larry and I were only going to go in and do a few tracks. I didn't think that we were going to do the whole record. And we had a situation leading up to that made me feel that way. We had started this record with Russ Titleman for this artist, Jenny Moldauer. Her mother was Maria Moldauer.
Maria, yeah, okay.
We go into rehearsals, I get all the parts. We go in the studio with Russ Titleman. We cut the whole record. We're waiting to hear this record because we think Jenny is a great artist. we found out later on that Russ brought in Steve Ferrone and Nathan East to just redo everything. And so we're thinking, did we suck? Was it not good enough? Did he just want their names on the record? Didn't matter. It happens a lot.
Yeah.
So when we got hired, when Nile said, hey, we're going to go down to Memphis, and Larry and I only had a ticket for 5 days, there was no way we were going to get a whole record done.
All right.
I'll talk about that in the book. Niall was like, I don't understand. I know. Niall said he had a lot of confidence in us to do it, but originally we were only set up on a 5-day flight. And the first day of recording is usually getting all the sounds up, drum sounds, miking, amps, Stevie. Come on, man. You know what I mean? He's got a whole room full of isolated amplifiers. So I knew the first day was going to be a loss. So we were going to work for 3 days and then go back to New York, and we were still getting to know each other. So anyway, what happened is we got to Memphis, and we jump, we go hang out, we're eating, we're having barbecue, we're hanging a little bit. We go to the studio. Like I said, day one, we're just getting sounds. By day two, we start the first song idea, which was actually amazing. I'm going to call it serendipity again and magical, because we cut a song a day.
Right.
Which is unbelievable for guys who had never met.
Yeah.
Never written together. And there really wasn't any really solid material developed at the point that we got to the studio. They were all ideas and all roadmaps and all sketches of ideas that either Jimmy or Stevie had, or some previously written things that they hadn't really finished, you know?
How was playing with Stevie different than maybe playing with other guitar players that you've worked with?
Oh, man. Stevie, his intensity. He had a surety about himself, man. It's just indescribable. It's like watching any master at anything. It's like watching a guy hit 50 nails without hitting his finger once and not looking.
Wow. Okay.
You know what I mean? It's like Stevie had this this surety, this confidence, and this passion. First of all, he had the strongest handshake I ever felt in my life.
Yeah, the guy had massive hands, didn't he?
Very strong. And he used like 13s, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard stories about what he did sometimes to keep his fingers from bleeding, the glue in his, calluses, and like literally sometimes he would bleed, But he was intense, man. He was all passion. Like he to me, he's like he put it all out there. I mean, I don't know. I've seen a lot of guitar players since him. The only guitar player that I can compare who he was a huge fan of, and I know inspired him a lot, was Hendrix.
Okay.
But Stevie just left. He had this thing, man. It was like his instrument and him were one. And his soul expression through that instrument, there was no blockages. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he knew exactly how to say what he wanted to say.
Yeah.
Very well.
Yeah, some people got to go. Look, and even it's weird because there was one point where he wanted to do a solo because he thought he could do better. And you're in the studio and you're thinking, how can he top that? But then he does it. And then you start to think like him, like, well, if we go all day, you're only going to get better and better and better. So at some point you just got to pick the one you want. Yeah. I mean, he's like, he'd play a solo. He'd be killing something. And you'd be like, oh my God. Like everybody would throw their hands up. And then he would go, oh, let me see let me see if I can do something a little. I think I got something better. Like, so he could express his absolute best 10 different ways. That's the way to say it. You know what I mean? It's kind of, it's interesting. Like I said, I've been around some amazing musicians. I'm glad I had the experience. I'm glad that I had that experience, man, because I got to know him on a personal level. And that was the beauty. That was more beautiful than anything else. Just hanging out with him and Jimmy and having food and talking and hearing their stories as brothers, because they had never gotten to record together as brothers. They had a dream of it a long time, but Jimmy had been in the Thunderbirds for so long. And then Stevie was, his younger brother who ran away from home after he did to do the same thing. And they were crossing paths and found out his brother was this bad dude that was killing people in Texas now. And then it was wild. Like me being a part of that whole thing, that's what's called family style. His loss was that was probably one of the hardest things that happened to me as a young man.
Dealing with his loss.
Yeah, man, because, we had talked about doing some Westwood One radio shows together and possibly doing a tour together, with myself and Larry, who we were really good friends, as the core rhythm section with him and Jimmy. It would talk of that, and I would have loved to have been on the road with Stevie, man, and play live. I mean, that would have changed my life forever. I mean, being a part of that record has in a lot of ways, you know. I think that's what led me to the opportunity to work with BB King later on, you know. But it was just interesting, you know, in so many ways, man, like so many ways. I mean, I learned, you know, Stevie was one of those guys where he didn't just have just a passion for playing, but he had a passion for guitar. He had a passion for amplifiers. You know, he would talk about a guitar all, you know, he would talk about guitars like men talk about women. Like
That's,
like like like
that's funny.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, no, seriously, like, you know, and like, oh, and the curves and the sound and this and that. And like, you know, he loved women too, but like it's like, you know, when somebody's so into their thing and I think at that point what happened too is that Stevie was completely clean.
Yeah, he was sober, very sober
He
at
was
that point,
a
wasn't
pure
he?
vessel at that point. I think before that, I hear a lot of people tell stories, even Bonnie Raitt, about how when he actually got away from doing drugs, how he had a lot of doubt about whether he was going to be able to be as bad as he was before. And that first kind of walking on the stage. And then she said when she saw him and realized he had tapped into it, that it was never going to leave him. That's what I tapped into. That's the Stevie I met.
Right.
I met like one of the most gentle, kindest souls that you would ever want to meet and be around and play music with in your life. Now, we heard the stories of him being a different person before that, even from him. He's
Sure.
like, times I was an asshole and I did some crazy stuff and it was drug, you know, fueled, but he was always a sweetheart underneath all that from people that I hear stories about, you know. But I felt like the special opportunity that I had was to work with the most pure, inspired, and driven version of what he was and what we all hope to see many more years of, you know.
Yeah.
And I think honestly that kept me Stevie's sobriety had a major effect on a lot of people. It really helped me to further stay away from other things that came across my path in my life because I realized, you know, it's really rare that somebody can turn like that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's rare. Listen, I got friends, man, who've been addicts for years, and it's always a struggle. You know, one of my really dear friends, he's been clean for 25 years, man.
That's great.
And there's never a point where you can and the ones who are the most truthful ones, you ask them, do they miss it? They'll like, yeah, something about it. I do miss something, but I don't miss all this. Like, I don't miss my family. I don't miss I mean, I want my relationships.
Right.
I want the intimacy.
I miss getting a buzz, but
Yeah. I don't, yeah.
I don't miss not having.
Yeah, there's certain things I miss about that, but no, I don't miss it more than what I have. Stevie found that.
Yeah.
Not many people get there, bro. You know,
Yeah.
and it's weird because some people just battle. That's a lot of their lives.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't even get to that place of clarity where it's like, I really appreciate the beauty of where I am right now. It's like, no, it's like a hard knuckle, another day of not running away from, you know, and that to me, I mean, it's a blessing to be able to, like I said, work with him, especially at that time.
At that
So
time of his life.
I saw some magic we saw some magic during that time that nobody else will probably ever see. And I don't know that many people got to experience that. I mean, obviously some of his close friends, you know, he did a couple of shows after that with Double Trouble, you know, so some people got to experience that and see it. In an intimate setting. I really feel like I got to be a part of something that was just, I feel like that was a great gift. It was a really good gift, you know.
You had a solo hit in Germany. You mentioned it earlier called "Take the Pain Away." I listened to that and I watched the video. And the lyrics, that's heavy shit, man. Talk about that song and what it meant to you.
That's my son in that video.
I was wondering.
You just saw my son walk by. He's like 6'4" now, right?
Yeah. That was a little kid on the bed.
Yeah. That was my son.
I was wondering about that. Yeah. That's so cool.
I'm going to get real and it's going to get deep. I was sexually taken advantage of by two teenage boys when I was about 7 years old. Forced me to give them oral sex, right? Close friends. Family. And I regret it that it happened to me, but worse could have happened. You know, it could have, whatever, you know. But it was something that sort of like I don't know, man. Whenever you go through something like that, is a betrayal. And not only a betrayal of people you think would never do something like that, but these were friends of my family. You know what I mean? And I remember at the time I was too afraid to even tell my grandfather it happened. And one day I sort of worked up enough courage to try to tell my stepdad what happened. And at the time I think I got a spanking. I don't even think he believed me. That's heavy too. It's something I don't know if we'll ever one day fix, but it's okay. I'm better for all of it now, man. Everything. But I know that feeling of being taken advantage of. You know, I wasn't necessarily raped, but I know probably what a woman might feel like being raped, or just being, just I was a kid, dude. You know what I mean? I was a kid, and I'm gonna tell you what, though, that was a piece of a major turning point in my life, though. When I take the pain away, because about 6 years later, maybe longer than that, dude. It might have been like 10 years later. I was in high school. I gained some weight. I'd been lifting weights. I ran track. Had a beautiful girlfriend. A lot of great things going on in my life. I was on a bus and I saw this dude.
One of the guys.
The one who was the main perpetrator of it, get on the bus. And he was sitting about 7 seats in front of me, and I knew his face immediately once he got on the bus, bro. And it brought up anger, and it brought up the worst kind of like anxiety. The first thing I thought, I'm gonna tell you the first thing I thought. I could get off this bus when he gets off and beat the living shit out of this guy. And it scared me because all the anger that was in me made me realize if I'd followed through with that idea of getting off the bus, I might not stop.
Yeah.
And that would take my life down a whole other dark road. Justifiably? Maybe. This dude forced me to give him and somebody else, a blowjob. You know what I mean? But me going to jail, I got a beautiful girlfriend. I got a college scholarship offered to me already. I'm in a band. My life is like unfolding and blossoming right now. And so literally I had this, like, it seemed like it was a 20-minute conversation in about 3 minutes because I had to get off in 2 stops. All of a sudden, something came over me again. It was like grace. It was like, I kind of saw his face from the side, and he looked like he had already been in hell, bro. And I thought to myself, I don't know what he must have gone through. Because I remember too, at the time, there was some crazy shit going on in his family. And his mom was a lesbian at the time, and it wasn't very popular in the 70s, and definitely very butch. And, sometimes people perpetuate what happens.
Yeah.
And so I found sort of a compassion in my heart, very unexpectedly. Like, you know what? The only thing you getting off a bus at this point is going to do is ruin your life. Because you're probably going to end up in jail for beating somebody half to death, even if it's justifiable in your own mind. Or could you even get that stain off of you and so I left it alone, man. It's weird. I got off on my stop where I was supposed to get off. And believe it or not, that night I made peace with it. I sent a prayer. I said, I don't know what it was. Something about me was just like, you know what? I made one of the single most powerful decisions I will ever make in my life at that point by going, that guy is already in a bad place. And I don't need to perpetuate that energy forward anymore. It's like shaking the tree. Let's break the chain. Okay, I'm never going to get an apology from that person, and nor should I expect one. But I can find peace in my own heart and heal what happened to me a long time ago. So when I wrote that song, Take the Pain Away, man, believe it or not, it was very much when I say, once a child, free of shame, your purity was stolen away. I mean, it wasn't like I was raped, but I felt that same, like.
No, that was like you were raped, man. That was.
So to me, it was like, go ahead. Yeah.
I wish you were here. I'd give you a hug, man. I feel so sad.
Hey, listen, man, thank you. I appreciate that. But, this is the stuff, that's why I say that all of it matters. All of it matters. All of it matters. I can't change. There's so many movies written about this. If you had so much regret in your life that you were willing to go back and change one thing to make a difference, it would affect everything forward.
Yeah, but that I can't believe you.
So I appreciate your compassion. I really do, man. And I've healed from that. You know, I've had to do my own work, and I've healed from it. You know, I think.
Well, because that is. Go ahead. Sorry.
To me, as an artist, man, one of the things that we have to do is really seek out. That's where Stevie, I think, helped me the most, to be honest with you. Authenticity, bro. Don't try to be somebody else. Don't try to be somebody who you're not. All of your shit, the good, the bad, the ugly, your pain, your mistakes, your trials, your tribulations, your traumas. I mean, this is a part of your journey. Would I love to have a journey without a lot of that? Yes. But quite honestly, guess what? I think it's made me a better father. It's definitely made me a more protective father.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not overprotective, but, you know, especially when healing is a part of the process, because you don't want to be so overprotective that you don't allow them to have their own life and their own life experiences. But what you got to do is you got to take everything that you've been through in life and understand, man, and listen, there's good people everywhere and there's bad people everywhere. There's good energy, there's bad energy. I would rather resonate with the good energy, you know.
But that you had the grace to think that came over you at that age.
It was miraculous, but at the same time,
that's some God shit, man.
Well, it was God. I'm saying because I'm gonna tell you what I thought about.
Yeah.
First of all, as a 15, 16-year-old kid, Black, in the inner city of Baltimore, I would have been jailed. That would have been something, even if I had made a decision to hurt this guy. Like I said, I would have been pushing that cycle forward again and again. Yeah. Me kicking his ass really is not going to do any good for him and no good for me. It would have put my life in a worse situation, and it may have actually, you just never know how what you do is going to affect somebody else. So my thing is like, you know what? If I make peace with the fact that it happened and it wasn't worse, I survived it. I have a beautiful life, but I can still see the pain in this dude's face from his life and his choices. That a lot of it may not have had anything to do with him or what he did.
You're 100% right in everything you're saying, but to have, I'm so upset because my own shit, you know, like I was totally abused, stop shy of sexual abuse. Right. And I'm so, predatory acts in general just like fucking trigger me, man. Not trigger me like with my own life, but it's like.
Me too, though. Me too. And I'm gonna tell you what's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, I said somebody the other day, oh God, and I even hate to say this. It's probably the only thing I would ever go to jail for. Is if somebody, one of my kids.
I mean, it's just
only because I know what
the damage.
Yeah. And like, I'm so protective as a dad that, you know, I would be like, no, you know, but I have to hope that just as I found that God moment then in my life, that somehow I would have to search for that God moment, knowing that wouldn't make a justice for them. I hope that nothing like that ever happens.
I hope so, man. Dude, I hope that nothing like that ever happens.
You know, it's heavy. We all got work to do, man.
Yeah, totally. But that's so fucking predatory, and like I hate that.
But you know what? That's why I wrote this song, Take the Pain Away. Because on some level, all of us, man, you know, all of us go through something. You know, a lot of people don't talk about. I think that's probably one of the best things that's ever happened through this whole sort of corona storm, if you want to call it that, is I think one of the things that people are talking about more now than I think they ever have been, I can think of in my lifetime, is mental health.
Yeah, which is just extremely important because people need help, and it's not like they're crazy. It's like, how do you look? You had the courage and the grace to get through that, but you know what, man? Most people don't.
Yeah. And most people are taught that violence is the way. An eye
or
for
they,
an eye, bro.
yeah, yeah, or they feel you just, well, it was, and they're scarred the rest of their life. Like, I deserve, and I had that shit from all the physical abuse. I couldn't imagine, I deserve that. And also, so you have a fucked up self-image and all that stuff. And it's like, of course, there's going to be mental health issues from, life is, nobody gets out of here unscathed, man.
But you know what?
Unfortunately.
I'm gonna tell you what happened after that, though. I think because of that, I had this unbelievable sense of gratitude about everything that was going on in my life at that time. Because I think like they say in the movies, you see your whole life before your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I had two lives. I had like two lives flash before my eyes.
Yeah.
One where I did something bad that was going to put me in a bad place, right? And one about not following through on something and going, look at this, man. I got this beautiful girlfriend. I got a great support system of friends who are like-minded musicians who want to do the things that I want to do and aspire in the same dreams, and they're not doing drugs, and they're staying away from trouble. Like all the things that literally, it's weird. It's weird how sometimes through life a ghost can chase you. It's almost the same ghost. So simple. Like I told you, I was already drinking and smoking cigarettes at like 12, 13. I quit because I didn't want that, right? Now, what if I fast track, 7, 8 years and then beat the shit out of this dude in the same, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think even back then in my mind, I was trying to put together like the positive, trying to like edit the positive streams of consciousness together. Like wait, no.
They punch this in.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? This is not gonna go good in here. You know what I mean? This doesn't fit with this song. You know what I mean? That's all you can do.
I'm so happy that you had that ability.
Thank you, man. I am too.
I'm so happy for you because you deserve that at a minimum. I mean, to have to go through some shit like that, man. I'm so fucking sorry that you had to deal with that.
Oh man, thank you. But that's what the song was about. It was really just about, to rescue me. I'm falling.
Yeah.
Everybody goes through right now. Listen, this is one thing I've learned as well. Everybody, man. I don't care how much you got, how little you got, in one way or another has been affected by what we call this pandemic on some level. Mm-hmm. And it's going to have a lasting effect that we're going to have to still do work through because, there's kids who are going to be going from preschool to whatever. There's not going to be any hugging for a while. There's these face masks. There's social distancing. There's already been distancing because now people don't really hang out, look at each other anyway. They're looking at their digital companions most of the time.
Yeah.
The community is being disrupted, and gentrification is happening nonstop everywhere. Even the rainforest and the Amazon is being destroyed, which gives us life and air. I mean, it's like men have now they want to rape their mothers, man, to comfort themselves. I mean, that's what it's like almost. I hate to even use that term, but it's like we're killing everything, right?
Yeah.
Create what? And so it's weird, like. And we're going through a time where everybody on some level has dealt with a slight mental health crisis. Listen, you got parents, man, that got 2 kids at home trying to do school, bro.
And they're both working full time and they're in an 800 square foot apartment in the city.
And someone can afford to buy a computer screen to have their kid do this stuff, or they got to go to somebody else's house. And listen, man. We came from not most ideal situations, but we can see the worst case scenario in a way that a lot of other people can't.
Yeah, and be grateful for like this much higher than that.
Yeah, because that puts a lot more pressure, a lot more stress, and a lot more disparity.
Yeah,
on your mind.
Yeah,
this thing has changed things, and we're gonna see. Unfortunately, we already are. We're seeing a lot of people have to really take much better care of their mental health.
Yeah.
And really focus on what's real now, what's true and what's real.
Well, that's what it's upsetting for this thing because you see people on social media just ripping the shit out of someone else because they don't agree with the baseball team, the politicians. And I'm like, man, this is all like, honestly, who's president for the most part, is not really going to one individual, just like it's not that big a deal, man. Just okay, you like A, he likes B, good, no worries, man. I like vanilla, he likes chocolate.
It's the same plane with the right wing and the left wing.
I mean, like,
it's what it is. It's funny because I always say to my kid, when my kids were younger, man, I'm so grateful that my kids they were never the ones to kind of fall out in the middle of the grocery store and embarrass me, thank God. But I remember I saw a kid say something to their mom, man, and I don't know if it was my daughter or my son, who was like, and I looked and I said, and I just said it because, if I said something like that to my mom, my teeth would be knocked out. I would get my teeth knocked out. Now maybe later on I'd get them fixed.
Yeah,
probably much later on.
Maybe.
But still, there's a consequence to like. So what you're saying in part is that, you know what? There's a generation of no consequence.
Yes.
And because there is no consequence, there really are no rules that can't be broken.
Right.
And that's just chaos. Because in reality, man, even in the jungle, bro, there's a hierarchy.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I mean, when an animal's got to eat.
That's the best way I've heard it, that this is no consequence of bad behavior.
Yeah. It is. I know. I'm not gonna. I was raised to respect my elders, to say yes sir and no ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, please and thank you. At least.
Yeah.
And if adults were having a conversation at the adults table, it's not for you. You don't step into. But now you hear people, man, saying all kinds of crazy. And guess what, man? I really think that one of the things that hurts us, unfortunately, as well, is that when you and I were growing up, there was a lot more respect for the elder.
Well, you just wouldn't get involved. What you said is, you get a bunch of adults talk. You don't go there. My daughter would bring kids over the house, and I'm talking to my wife, and these kids come in and like, what? Go. This isn't. This is adults.
Yeah.
You're not part of this conversation. I don't want you in this kind of stuff. Your bit. But that I had to even say that, it was like, why is your mom not telling you this?
I think there's been I know when we talked on the phone, I was telling you about that article that was published by the Rolling Stone.
Mm-hmm.
A decade or so ago. It was about how they say that the smartphone killed the groupie.
Yeah.
Or whatever you call it, Facebook or the internet or whatever. But really, I feel like the technology has even crippled a generation socially to a certain degree.
Mm-hmm.
Because this thing between us is supposed to be, and it's pros and cons to everything. Listen, I can FaceTime my daughter who lives in London. I love that I can just, hey, get her on the phone and see her face to face and we can talk, right? But it's not a substitute for communication or intimacy or connection, and it's not a buffer either. And a lot of people misuse it, and because it's been so widely misused and accepted that way, it's become actually a new sort of I'm not going to call it acceptable for me, but an acceptable standard of communication between a lot of people who have no healthier way. Listen, man, when we were growing up, if you wanted to dance with a girl, you had to walk up to her and look her in the eye, man, and ask her.
Yes. Yeah. And that took a lot of courage.
Yeah. You would never have gotten the courage to walk over to her while your legs were shaking in front of three other dudes who wanted to dance with her too. And she might say no to you.
Right.
But even getting turned down was a courageous move.
Yeah. Because then the next time it was easier,
Today, people are afraid of being turned down.
Yeah.
So you're never going to get to point B.
That's why they'll do, hey, on a text, because it doesn't hurt so bad. But
that, but you know what I'm saying.
I totally get it. Yeah.
I was saying, even to my kids, that there's really no way. There's no other way. Listen, if you see a storm coming, bro, you got to either wait for it to pass or go through it.
Yeah.
There's certain things in my life, and I'm still learning this now, man. You never stop learning this. I'm 50
No, thank
years old,
God.
there's certain things that you can't go around, you can't go under, and you can't go over. You got to go through it.
But I think like me, and I would bet you're the same way. I'd rather go through it, just get it over with, because I'll get something out of it, and B, I'll be a better person. And let's get the shit. Let's, I don't have time.
Well, now I am. Now I am.
Let's.
My thing was always like, I think for me, there have been so many pivotal moments in my life where I've been dealt with a decision, and there's been a bit of uncertainty. But each time I literally had to go, okay, I know what to do, and I got to do it. And that's real. On a soul level, it kicks in. I know what I got to do, and I got to do it. I might not even know how I'm going to do it.
I'm just so amazed that you had that internal, the internal confidence or courage. No, it seems you had that. You seem like you knew, okay, this is my decision. It's like you were able to think that out at a young age at times. That's just like blows me away, man. That's really together.
I think too, because I saw so many really stark things, man. I mean, I saw some stuff happen around me that I just didn't want that to be a part of my reality.
Mm.
And I knew that if I didn't elevate myself somehow out of the current reality, that probably potentially would be a part of my reality on some level.
Right.
I think that was a part of it too. Because sometimes fear can be an incredible motivator.
Definitely. But you were afraid of the right things.
Yeah. You know what? And that's what
really were.
I'm glad, man, because there were a couple of times that I could have done some things that and I was like, no. I just, and some of it is it's weird, man. I told my daughter this story. I said, one day, I remember I was really young, man, and my mom was a very together woman. She was a municipal worker for the city, and she had a decent job. She wasn't, we were still, lower class, as a single mom raising, me and my sister, but we had what we needed.
Mm-hmm.
Man, one day we're walking back from the store, something together, and I'm holding her hand, and I couldn't have been even, maybe I was 5 years old, man. And we walk past these dudes, and they're talking some shit, and I just look over to listen to them, and they're cursing and all that kind of stuff, and I just look over. She smacks me upside the head. I look at her like, but you get the point.
Yeah. She didn't want you anywhere near that.
Good
for her. What a good mom.
You know what I mean? Yeah, no, really.
What a loving.
Yeah. Yeah, my dad was a little harder than my mom, but you know what I'm saying? But it's funny because I got it.
Yeah.
And I think later on in my life, there were times when she was like there, like a guide, like, wait a minute.
Like you saw the same negative situation and you just said,
yep,
walked away. Yeah.
Not for me, man.
That's a great, what a good lesson you learn like that.
But you know what it teaches me too, is that when you do plant seeds, kids, this is what I've learned as a dad, is you might not think they're listening sometimes, man, but they are.
Yeah, they really are.
They are. They are. And sometimes, we wonder if we let them go, if they're going to do something crazy. And most of the times, man, it's more surprising. I remember my kids would go over or sleep over or this or that, and they were so well behaved. And this, I'm like, oh, really? He's not even doing that at home. Like,
right. Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah.
He helped make a bed? Like,
yeah.
Really? Like, oh, he knows how to make a bed.
Yeah, we get that. They behave better for other people than for you.
But that's a beautiful thing because you realize that, what, the seeds that you plant and you lead them on their way and they go, and listen, man, trouble is going to come, man. This is one of the things I say to my kids now, especially because they're in music. I say, it's unfortunate because, one of the things that was going on as well, and I remember this specifically around that time, I was working with Stevie, is one night we went to this restaurant and the restaurant was connected to like a club or like a bar, but we weren't in the bar area. And he was very specific about not being around alcohol or in a bar environment or whatever. But I remember one time specifically, because a lot of people think it's cool to do drugs with people who are famous. And they don't really care if you're being sober or your sobriety means anything to you. It's just something they want to tell a story about it. You know what I mean? But there was this, whenever Stevie would get up and go to the bathroom or something, either myself or Larry or Renee, who was his guitar tech, would go with him, because sometimes they would go to AA meetings a couple times a week together.
Sure.
Very, 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 very on top of that. But I remember one night, man, we were at this specific place. We go in the bathroom, and I swear, Stevie's at one urinal. I'm at a urinal next to him, and on the other side is this dude who's trying to basically tell him, "Hey, I got some blow if you want to do some blow."
No.
And I'm like, man, shut it down, shut it down. You know what I mean? Because but you get predators like that all the time. And not just for it's interesting because it's always been there throughout the history of music and entertainment. I think now, because a lot of people just want to be famous, and I've experienced this with different artists I played with, people just want to be close to the party or behind the rope. If you're invited behind the rope and you come out to the bar to get a drink because you're regular people, they want to figure out how to get behind the rope. and that's the part that gets a little weird sometimes because, like I say, because of, unfortunately, a lot of my traumas and life experiences, I can see that a mile away. I can clearly see when there's a sort of an
ulterior motive.
Yeah,
I'm like that too, man. Like,
I read it.
You could just smell bullshit pretty. You could just see someone's agenda.
Yeah.
Pretty soon.
And sometimes it's not a good thing. Well, I'm not going to say that to me. Like, it serves me well. I have to be careful not to be a turnoff when it does. You know what I mean?
I do.
When it makes itself clear to me. PC sort of,
Yeah.
I have to be like, oh, all right, cool, But I think, like I said, when it comes to my children, it's because I'm so much more protective.
Of course.
My stance is a little bit different.
Yeah, and it should be.
Yeah. Oh,
and you're the governor of that. Nobody else has the
right.
Yeah, that's no one's business but you, man.
No, no, not at
all. Wow, I just want to thank you for that. Was very, very brave, and that was very open of you to share. Thank you, man. And I like I said, if I was there, I would have loved to give you a hug. That was so.
You know what? Thank you, man. And I will say this.
That was really intense.
Especially since my dad passed. He passed July of 2020. Yeah. I've done a lot of. My dad and I became closer later on in my life.
That's great.
The last 25 years was like rebuilding relationship with us. And I could honestly tell you that before he died, we were closer than we had ever been.
That's great. And I'm sorry for your loss.
And thank you. We weren't having father-to-son conversations, man-to-boy conversations. We were having man-to-man conversations. Right. That was really cool. I realized stuff in his journey that I just never knew, man. And it gave me a very different compassion on where he was too. Now being an adult and a man.
So you're able to forgive him for being absent to some extent. Yeah, that I bet that helped you a lot.
It helped me a whole lot.
Yeah.
Because I put myself in his shoes in a couple of different situations where I was just like, wow. I mean, different scenario, man. But I mean, there's been times where I'd miss a couple birthdays or anniversary or this because I'm on the road. I'm making money. I'm taking care of my family.
Yeah.
But it feels the same to my kids.
Interesting.
They know dad's working.
Right.
Still, I don't want them to think that I didn't want to be there or I'm not present. And sure, like I said, because of technology has made it easier for us to FaceTime in or be present on a certain level. But, I feel that, hey, man, if I'm supposed to be a cup that's poured out, then I don't need to hide anything that happened to me.
Right.
I need to talk about what happened in my life because it may help somebody else.
Well, I think it will help somebody else for sure. I mean,
creative. I hope that if I tell a story, it has an impact somewhere, or that it even when I play, man, listen, I want to put good energy out there. I get as much joy out of the fans digging it as I do playing it.
Right.
You know, as people say, I don't play, I don't care, but you listen to music. People who buy records and like music are just as important to me as the people who make the music.
Right.
You know, and that's I want to feel that again. I miss it. I miss it a lot.
Oh, I can't imagine.
Dude, I miss playing, man. I miss being on the stage.
Everybody tells me, yeah. They didn't realize how much how important it was to them until it got, yeah.
It's a therapy in itself. It really is, man.
Yeah.
You know, there's this. I guarantee if you ask every player from this day on, this same thing I'm about to tell you about. There's this moment, and you've probably experienced it yourself, where you're playing with somebody or you're playing with a group of people, and you can't explain what it is, but you're in this zone, and the only way to really explain it is it's like orgasmic, and you don't get it all the time. You hope to get it more, but when you do get it, you acknowledge it, and you're like, this is why I'm doing this.
Well, let's stay on that positive note. Tell me
Right.
2 or 3 situations where you've had that you remember.
Dude, I remember one of the first times I was in Japan, realizing that, come on, this audience doesn't speak English, it's Japanese, but they knew this, every single word to the chorus of a song.
That's pretty. Who you with? Who you on tour with?
Well, I was in China one time. The same thing happened. I was playing with Avril Lavigne,
That's wild.
and they were singing, "It's a damn cold night, trying to figure out this life. Take me by the hand, take me somewhere new. I don't know who you are, but I am with you." You know, and everybody's singing this. I'm just like, and dude, in unison, it's just like chills are going through your body. You're just like, and it happened every night. But one time, man, specifically, me and everybody on stage were just like like, this is magic. Like, this is magic. There's been times where I've been in different bands and played that. Musically, you're on that vibe. But at different times, man, it happens. And when it happens, you realize, wow, I was supposed to be here. Not only was I supposed to be here, but I was supposed to feel exactly what I feel right now. And this is a part of what I'm supposed to feel. And I'm so glad that I feel this, you know?
That's so cool.
And you, like I said, everybody feels it at different times. You know, I felt it even on sessions where I got chills because I heard the playback of something that was so good. Probably when I was working on the Family Style record. Like one of Stevie's solos did it to me once. I was just like, I'm standing next to this guy. like, are you serious? Like that came out of you? That's why sometimes I really do believe it. Like I really do believe this. Like we're vessels. You know, if I can be a clear vessel, that's what I shoot for. That's my aim, because I'd love to be a mighty vessel. I'd love to be a pure vessel. I don't want to mess up the music that's coming through me, or the life that's coming through me, or the information that's coming through me. You know what I mean? I don't want to manipulate it, or you know, we often learn that stuff early on in life, and I think my journey, my personal journey, is like to try to be more authentic and get away from that, whether it's fear, limitation, doubt, manipulation, control, to just really be, you know, in the moment. Because I think that's the only thing I can equate to when I felt that in my life a couple different times, is when I felt that I wasn't trying to be anywhere else. I wasn't thinking about anything else. I was really completely 100% present.
Right in the moment there.
I was right in it.
Yeah.
When I was into Stevie play a thing, I wasn't thinking about something else. I wasn't texting. See, now, you know what I'm saying? We got so many other things, dude, that pull us away all the time.
I'm on the highway with my wife the other day driving, and this guy's not moving. I said, babe, I got to go around this guy. He was texting on the highway. And I'm driving. He's texting in the left lane. That's scary. Like, what are you thinking, man? I've never seen it so overt. Like it was like, hey, man, I'm busy. Let me finish this shit. That was really scary, man. Talking about not being present.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We're now at another level of distraction. where not only are you not present, but you're endangered and you're endangering others. So think about that. So we're not talking about just basic distraction anymore.
Mhm.
We're talking about distraction to the point where literally, man, I've heard this thing coined as an intimate device.
Let me.
Some people would rather avoid intimacy and like be on this thing. You know what I mean? It's like,
Well,
wow.
not me. I can tell you that much,
You
man.
know,
It was. I stopped. There was a movie on Netflix like 3 or 4 or 5 years ago about. It's called "It Just Takes a Minute" or something like that. It was about accidents that occurred by texting.
dude,
What
there's a movie called 7 Pounds. It's a Will Smith movie. It's
about that?
unbelievable about something that happens while he's texting and the way the whole thing plays out. It will blow your mind. I know you would dig it.
All right, I'll watch it.
7 pounds, man. And it's deep because you know what? I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna admit something to you. I just got it my first ticket 2 days ago.
For texting.
And I'm gonna tell you what, I'm glad I got
Thank
it.
God. I'm
Pissed me
glad
off.
you got it.
It pissed me off because I literally wasn't look I was just looked at I wasn't texting, I was looking at my phone. Same thing, it doesn't matter. Because I didn't have a thing to have it what do you mounted on my phone. So I looked at it because I was heading somewhere.
Yeah.
And then an officer pulls me over. It was on Melrose in LA, and he gave me a ticket. And I was like, all right. And then I pulled up. It's like, you know what? I deserved it. He's doing his job. He was.
I'm glad you got it because you won't
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
When
And I
I
was,
saw that movie, that's what I did. There's a thing on here you can say. So if someone texts me when I'm driving, it says, "Sorry, I can't. I'm driving. I can't
yeah.
respond
You know
automatically."
what?
Yeah.
But I was glad because I also believe too that certain things come up in your life because they're like that. My mom smacking me upside the head again.
Yeah. There you go.
It's probably gonna cost me $200, whatever. But it is like, okay, you know what? All right, something worse than happened. I could have looked in a split second and boom, whatever. So it was like, all right, cool. And
Yeah.
I take that one. You know what I mean? So
Well, it might save your life.
yeah, and save
Yeah.
somebody
Or
else's life.
save some. Yeah.
Or, if I would, you know how much work I would have to go through to forgive myself if I hurt somebody because I wanted to take a look at my phone, man.
No, no, you
You
don't
know
have
what I
to
mean?
deal with
Yeah,
that, man.
yeah. I'm
Dude,
glad.
you've done enough work for your lifetime, Al. I hope the bulk of your work is fucking over, man. I really do. I mean that so sincerely. I really hope it's
Listen,
like
man.
90% over for you.
Listen, man. I'm ready for the beautiful season all the time. I welcome it with you. I'm taking those good vibes. Thank you.
Please. Uh, tell me, you mentioned Stevie. Tell me some of the other favorite musicians you've enjoyed playing with.
Oh wow, man. What was cool? I enjoyed. You know what? I'll put it like this. There were very few musicians that I didn't enjoy playing with.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, because I really do love music that much. There's some experiences that I had associated with certain situations that I enjoy so much. But I will tell you about an audition that I had that was really wonderful. And
Yeah.
I didn't get the gig, but I was in the running for it. Because I had never done a straight up country gig. I had done bluegrass, I had done funk, I had done rock, kind of punk, soul. It was with Dwight Yoakam, and it was at A&M Studios a couple of years.
Pete Anderson, was Pete Anderson his guitar player then?
Probably.
Yeah. Okay.
And I was one of the bass players that was asked to come in, and Dwight liked me, man, a lot, and he asked me to kind of sing with him for a while, and we had a vibe, and it was literally, you could tell, bro, we would have hung, we would have been boys, have you ever like hung with somebody for a few minutes and realized if you spent more time together, it would be a really cool hang?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what it was like.
I have.
And so it was like, oh man, I'm just glad I got to do it. I didn't get the gig. It went no further than that, but I came in prepared. I did a great job. And he said, man, I really like your voice. He complimented me on my singing. He said, I really like your voice. And we started doing some harmonies together over some songs, you know what I mean? And I thought it was cool. And I said, you know what? That's the only thing I haven't done yet. I haven't done a straight country gig yet.
Right.
I did the Lisa Marie Presley thing. That was more bluegrass,
Okay.
which is really good record, Storm and Grace. But yeah, but I often said to myself, man, that would have been a trip. If some of it might have been behind some barbed wire fences, but whatever, man. It would have been
Whatever. Yeah.
what a story to tell, though. You know what I mean?
Let's put that out there. Country gig, man. Al Berry, if you're looking for a bassist, this is your guy. He's hungry and he's awesome.
Exactly. You know what I mean? But yeah, I will tell you about a great vocal experience I had years ago, though. I was working with my buddy, we were both doing some independent writer side work for a jingle house in New York at the time called Ciccarella and Associates, and he was doing a spot for a Coca-Cola commercial, and we were going to all go in one night and do a gang vocal, and and we needed a couple more singers, and we had gotten word that Whitney Houston was coming up, and literally, me, this guy Christopher Max, a guy named Fonzie Thornton, I think it was BB Winan, CC Winan, and Whitney Houston were doing this big gang vocal.
Wow, what a cast.
And I was just like, this doesn't just happen.
Yeah.
And it does, though. Sometimes you're in places, man, where it's like, that's why I say one of the great blessings about music and my music journey is it's taken me places that I always wanted to go. It's taken me places where I never thought I would go. It's taken me places I unexpectedly would never believe I would have liked going. It's led me to journeys beyond race, beyond religion, socioeconomic status. I've dined with princes. You know, it's unbelievable, man. I ate pizza on the back of the tour bus, boxers, but I had a dinner with the Prince of Monaco. You know what I mean? If the
That's
world
pretty cool.
You know what I mean? And so
What does the Prince of Monaco serve for dinner, man? That's gotta be some.
whatever he wants. His name is Albert too. His name is
Prince
Albert.
Albert of Monaco. Yeah. What did you eat, man? What did you eat with Prince Albert?
I think we just had a bunch of. It was a World Music Awards thing, and I think they used to do it once a year, and I was there twice. And I was there one year. It was Rihanna, Akon, Shakira, Avril was the artist that was there at the award, and somebody else. I think there were 5 different artists. Oh, actually, Patti LaBelle was there, and so it's like literally south of France, man. I'm in the south of France. I'm in the billionaire boys play club. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody's driving a Bentley and a Rolls Royce and a Ferrari, and I mean, no, this is the spot, right? And literally, there's these tables set up in this huge dining hall and a huge stage, and it's his thing he puts on the World Music Awards, and lots of hors d'oeuvres, and I think if you're the dinner later on, it's a menu. You can have whatever you want from the menu, and it's a cool event because it like. It's almost like you could tell like the billionaires want to party with regular people too. It's kind of weird, you know what I mean?
No, I could see that because they kind of like they don't have to. You're not going to sit there worrying about what this guy thinks of you, whatever he said, whatever you say. So they want to be around like normal people. I get that, man. Yeah,
and it's kind of funny because it's
refreshing for them.
Yeah, you get that vibe, It's like, yeah. Okay, cool. So and it's funny because it takes me back, and I'm sure you're going to say it takes me back to, like I said, it always takes me back to being a kid in Baltimore. Laying on my back in the grass and looking up at the clouds as they pass by and imagining a world that's so much bigger than the little projects area or whatever we're living in, that's very different than the reality of the circumstance of that moment, And I believe that every door that's ever opened for me, I've at least found enough courage to walk through it, because the worst thing that could ever happen is just no.
Yeah. Which doesn't really affect you that much when you grow up in an environment like that, because it's like everything is pretty much no anyway. So what the hell, You know how
many times you hear no?
Yeah.
Well, guess what, man? If you never ask, the answer is always going to be no.
Yeah, right.
Never ask, it's always going to be no.
Absolutely, man.
Even if 50% of the time it's yes, or 20% of the time it's yes, take a chance.
Take it. Yeah, totally, man.
Last
song that you listened to. What were you listening to most recently on your iPhone or whatever you listen to music on?
Ooh. Oh, man. Wow. Because I teach lessons. Oh, I listen to so much. I think the last song I was listening to. Wow. Oh, dude, I listen to so much music. I listen to so much. Let me see what's on my phone right now.
Yeah, tell me what's on your phone now.
Let me see. I'm going to open my because I listen to so much music. I think my son and I will listen to Marvin Gaye.
Okay.
What I find, and I found through my travels and my life experience, is that most people outside of America have a greater appreciation for American music than Americans do.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's why so many artists go there and they do well.
The history of the music, whether it's
Yeah.
soul, whether it's blues, most Europeans, the Stones can tell you about more blues artists than most Americans can.
Yeah.
I had music history in high school, and I've had long music history through my life, but it's interesting because, and I think maybe most countries are like that. They're more like what comes from them is not so much as cool as what comes from somewhere else.
Yeah. You're the out of town expert.
Yeah, but we've always produced some incredible music, man.
Yeah.
Through the journey of what America has been, and I got a feeling some of the greatest music that's ever happened is going to happen again in the next 10 years, man. Just coming through the last, maybe 5, 10 years of what we've gone through, and even this whole current situation, I think it's going to, creativity has always blossomed in severe conditions, whether it was through slavery or the civil rights movement or the war era movements, or always a musical movement that follows what feels like a sort of oppressive or
That's a very good point.
so I do feel
Yeah.
like, believe it or not, we're going to see another era of really good music coming upon us.
That's a really good point. And we haven't had shittier times than we've had in the last few years. So we're due, man.
And
Yeah.
it's very much in alignment with sort of the attitude of the entitlement. Nobody's
Yeah.
writing stuff about anything when everybody's entitled, and
Yeah.
yeah. But when you go through some, come on,
Yeah.
it gets more real.
Well, look at this. Look at your song.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
It doesn't get any more real than that, man.
We're gonna be hearing some. We're gonna be hearing
Yeah.
some more good stuff. Believe me. I look
That's
forward.
Do you have a worst gig ever story?
Oh yeah, man. And thank God it was in a little club. I was living on 14th Street between 7th and 8th in New York, and there was a club called Nell's.
Uh-huh. That's a great area to live
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, and I did I was doing a jazz gig one night, like kind of jazz funk gig, subbing for a bass player. And so we're playing, we start the set, and I think I'm killing it. And I think I probably was, first 3 songs. Song number 4, I break my G string. And I realized I didn't bring any extra strings with me.
Oh boy.
And like we're literally got about 6 songs to go through the rest of the set.
Mm.
And I'm like, oh shit, man. Okay, whatever. I'm cool. I'll navigate. I'll use my G string. I'll figure it out. So then I swear, man, the next song I break my D string.
Oh no.
Can't believe it.
That's like
I haven't broken strings in years, like years.
that's almost statistically impossible to
I
prove
know.
up to.
I couldn't believe it.
Oh my God.
Right? I got an E string and an A string to try to get through the next 4 songs in the set.
Oh my God. That is
And
horrible.
I was sweating bullets, man, because it's like, oh, this is embarrassing. I mean, and so basically, I had to say, listen, we're gonna have to cut like at least one of these songs, because I only lived in half a block, So I went from my place. Thank God it was only half a block away, to go get a new pack of strings and put some strings. But I swear that those 2 or 3 songs were just like, and plus I think because that night there were a couple of guys that were players that showed up too.
Oh, so you had the pressure.
It's nothing more humbling. It's nothing more humbling than being really, really shitty when people are watching you and expecting, because it gives them every opportunity to talk smack they want to now. And it doesn't matter what the reason is either. It's like, but it was horrible. Like on my end,
That is tough.
it was just so bad. Like literally breaking the G string was like, okay, fine. I won't be able to do this. I won't be able to do this. All right, cool. But I can get around. When I broke the D string, it was like, oh man, this is just like, dude, this is just not good.
No, not good at all.
It may
man.
not get any better. It may not get any better. But that was probably
Oh,
that was the other time something really crazy happened as I was playing an arena. This was with Kelly Clarkson. And it's really messed up because actually it was one of the things I never did since then though is whenever I take a bass from a guitar tech, I always check my tuning myself because a bass tech, we had a lot of different tunings. in her set, and I was playing 5 string, and after a while, instead of playing 5 string, I just played a 4 string, and I had a hip shot where I drop it down to a low D.
Okay.
Anyway, guitar tech hands me a bass for a huge ballad of hers at the time, where the first note that comes in is an open B, right? But it's tuned to C.
Oh.
And she's a great singer, great bitch. I open up with the drums with a C, big C, and you hear the keys in B, and I'm like, oh, and I can't do a damn thing about it until we get through this bar, and everybody is like, you know, the last thing you want to do when somebody makes a mistake is look at them, because everybody knows what's going on. So I'm just like, dude, I feel like a little boy in a diaper.
Oh my God.
And, like in front of like, you know, the college. And then finally I figured it out, and I get back on and I finished the rest, but it shook me. It took me the next 4 or 5 songs to shake that.
I could, in an arena, I could see that, man.
You need amnesia. Like basketball players, they say, you know, you gotta have amnesia about the ones you miss.
Short memory. That's what. Yeah, that's the sports analogy. Yeah.
I sweated for 5 more songs just because of that situation.
Yeah.
And now, so every time, whenever I get a bass from anybody on stage, I check it myself before I play.
Yeah.
I make sure, you know, because now you can just, you know, I check my tuning.
Yeah.
Because, dude, that was just so, and of course everybody gave me crap.
Oh,
in
of course.
a funny way, you know, backstage after the show. Yeah, man, way to open that song up. You were doing your own thing, huh?
Oh man, that's creepy, man.
Jazz, man. I was just a half step away.
Yeah, it's jazz. That's what do they say? It's no wrong notes. It's depending what note you get to next.
Keep moving.
Tell me your top 3 Desert Island discs, Al.
Ooh.
Just for right now.
Wow, that's so hard.
I know.
If I could only have 3 discs, wow. I'd say I'd have to go like Bob Marley, Led Zeppelin, and Marvin Gaye.
That's a child of the 70s, man.
Only because of the you know, reggae, soul. You got to have some love-making music. I don't know. I think you got to, you know, Zeppelin would definitely take me to where I need to kind of like, you know, break some coconuts open. And you know, it's hard because honestly, you know, it's crazy. You didn't notice, but I got a scholarship to Peabody Conservatory at Johns Hopkins to sing opera.
Did you really?
Yeah, I sang opera. So my first year of college, I sang opera as well. So my music history, I mean, I have a very diverse musical background. I come from.
That's amazing. Well, how come you just wasn't your thing? Bass took over.
I loved the ability that I had to sing, and it was definitely a challenge for me, and I loved the challenge. But I didn't want to become an opera diva. But that's a whole different world, whole different story. And rock and roll, and it was always in my bones. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Wow.
But, so you know, I have. If you look at my musical catalog, I would say if anybody ever broke into my house and stole my music, they wouldn't know who lived there. It was just based on my music. I got everything from, you know, I mean, Stravinsky and Mozart and, you know, to The Cure, to Prince, to Bowie, to, you know, like I say, dude, I got Willie Nelson albums. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's kind of, if you look at my musical collection, you couldn't figure who the hell I was. Like,
yeah,
you know. And so that's one of the hardest things for me to do, even genre-wise. People ask me questions like that, and I'm like, what genre?
Right.
Because
no, it's an impossible question. It's just as like it's hard. It's a ridiculous question.
It would, yeah. But I understand. Like, I understand where it comes from.
Yeah.
I'm always evolving too. I think I'm always looking to evolve. I really appreciate what came before us. And I really begin to appreciate more the next inversion of what we're because a lot of these bands, they didn't understand that they were influenced by a band that was influenced by another band.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm old enough to be able to go back to the roots of a lot of it. You know?
Totally.
And school some people on things they don't know, which is kind of cool though.
Very cool.
You know,
Especially with your kids. I do that. My kids.
oh yeah, man, I
Yeah,
can
it's a
tell
lot
where
of fun.
samples come from all the time. This is a sample of this, which is a sample of that, which is not
Hmm.
even this. And Sly Stone did that way back in the day with this. It's just, whatever, but it's still, but I love it because all of us do that.
Yeah, it's great to look. Yeah, you
We've all been inspired by something.
totally. Uh, Most important things you've learned about yourself.
Um, wow. Wow. The most important thing I think I've learned about myself is I'm always evolving, man. I've really been about shedding old belief systems as well as trying to find new ways, inventive ways to look at things. I'm a free spirit. It's kind of weird. And it's interesting that it took so long for me to get here because everybody's journey is different. But I I don't like to go to the zoo because I don't like seeing lions in cages. It's like one of the most depressing things in life to me.
It is kind of depressing, man, to be
See,
honest.
like the king of a jungle stuck in his cage being fed steaks or something.
I know it is. It's kind of a downer.
So it's kind of how I look at myself. I guess I'm a Leo. So life is just like I have is a wanderlust that's not only been a part of me, but it's very much me. When I tell you about that kid laying in the grass, dude, that's who I've been all my life. You know, it's really weird, but I realize that even now at my age, I don't feel 55, and I wear what I want to wear. If I want to wear pajama pants and a denim shirt, that's what I'm going to wear. If I and I think more than anything else, I'm learning to accept that authenticity is just a part of who I am, man. I think that's huge for me because I think throughout my life, I've gotten stuck in so many different um, patterns of satisfying other people, people pleasing, or your parents, or your industry, or your da da da. And you've always been a unique expression of yourself, but still a bit limited because sometimes we always believe that the kid has got to grow up. But I believe that the kid needs to be more alive as you get older. I love seeing somebody who's 80 years old with 12-year-old eyes.
I actually agree with you very much, and I'm happy that you've always been that kid laying in the grass.
Oh, I've had to do work to get there, bro. There's been
Yeah.
times where I was like laying in the grass, like with a tent, but still, but like no, like seriously, like just looking up at the clouds and just going, wow, wonder, wonder, wonder. It's like this. I still have this wonder.
Well, I heard something the other day, and they said that what gives you energy and drive is having something that you want to do, and that is so true. If you wake up and you got nothing to look forward to, and family or your kids or work is not happening, and it's tough to have drive, man. It's
I've had a
really
battle.
important to have
I've
a
had a battle.
hunger for something.
I've had to battle through a lot of that, man, doing
Yeah.
this. The first part of it, I was teaching a lot, which is really great because that was keeping me playing. And sometimes playing and practice is the same thing for me. But like, it's just like when you don't have anything to look forward to, it's almost like you could say to yourself, "Well, what am I practicing for?" Well, obviously,
Yeah.
you don't want to lose your calluses. That's the worst thing you want to do. So I at least play enough to try to keep my calluses. You know what I mean? But then when I'm teaching, that gave me another because I'm remembering things that I may have forgotten or things that somebody else never knew. Then it gives you a sense of the deeper connection to your knowledge. I
Yeah.
have knowledge because I've walked this long road. And if I can do nothing but pass that on and share it, that alone is another purpose that's higher than myself. I
Yeah.
get to pour myself out. I get to share that. So I'm finding new ways, man, to share my knowledge on many levels. I think that's actually sort of the next organic level of my career is I'm going to be going into more of an executive phase soon as well, helping develop some music artists, some production stuff like that, which I think makes sense because it brings every part of my journey together in a way, from a player to being an artist to having deals to looking at contracts to knowing the ups and downs. And I think that I do want to share what I've been through. And quite honestly, like you, man, I want to share a lot of what I've been through because I want to see some people get through the process with less pain. If I can help you to get through without tripping over a barbed wire or cutting your hand on something or, being screwed over, man, come on.
No, I totally get that.
I'm grateful for the people who showed up for me, man.
Hmm.
I call them angels. It did. I'm glad for the Bud Tunics who told me to go join the union, man. Who made it easy for me? Yeah, you might want to do this. And
Yeah.
and the teacher who said show up early and show up clean and be ready. And
Or even that kid who's the
yeah,
yeah, the kid with the lyrics, with the Rapper's Delight lyrics.
that took a lot of discipline
Yeah.
because that meant, first of all, it's funny too, because growing up in Baltimore, with the Bullets, well, we lost the Bullets in the early '70s, so we didn't have a basketball team. And then the Colts left overnight to go to Indianapolis.
Yeah, the Colts.
So,
The Colts.
so me and
It
my
took me
buddy,
forever to get used to saying Indianapolis
Yeah.
Colts, man. I was just looking for Burt Jones to be throwing footballs at the,
right?
yeah, the Baltimore.
So I became a Lakers guy.
Okay.
People go, why? Because at night is when I would stay up to listen to the radio,
Okay.
try to record the tunes, and the Lakers would be on after I did my homework. So I watched
Right.
the Lakers game, like the Showtime Lakers, Magic Johnson, And so that's how me and my buddy Walter bonded more.
Oh, okay.
It was funny. Like I always say this to people all the time. I don't believe in a self-made man. I believe that a man who has definitely been highly disciplined and successful. It takes a village.
It does.
It takes a village. And we got to give credit to all parts because everybody helped me. Miss Ross helped me, even about some of the bad things. What happened to me that I didn't like, that could have turned to a really worse thing for me, made me making the decision to go a different way, helped my life. Me having the balls to go to New York set me up with listen, man, I didn't go to New York to bust tables.
No, that changed your life.
That was a part of the journey, though.
Yeah.
If I hadn't been busting tables there, I wouldn't have met this guy who made me show up here to do this thing. You know what I'm saying? So as I actually get older and look back, I really do see it's all connected, man.
Yeah, it is all. And I always say you can't connect the dots moving forward. So you have to look back and say, oh, this happened because yeah. And it's really cool when you do that.
We all get a different deck.
Yeah.
You got to play your cards, bro.
Yeah.
You can't play my cards.
Totally.
You got to play your cards to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
And so I look at it as like, wow, okay, there's certain cards maybe I haven't played yet. Maybe I still got my best card in my hand.
Yeah, I think you do, man.
I
think you do.
So I hope so.
Hey, two more questions out. Any hobbies or interests outside of music?
Oh, plenty. I love nature, man. I love nature. As a matter of fact, I'd love to. There's some different things that I'd like to do in the future with helping sustain indigenous wildlife. My grandmother's American Indian. I love nature a lot. I do. I love film. I love art. I love adventure. I mean, one of the coolest things I got to do when I was in Switzerland a few years back was to go paragliding, and that was mind blowing, man. I was 13,000 feet above the Swiss Alps, flying like a bird, just like that blew my mind. And I don't know if that's something that I'd make a habit of doing.
Yeah, that's like a thrill-seeking event for me, man.
You know what I mean? But because I'm a dad too, man. All of my kids' interests, and it's I've got varying interests. I think as I'm getting older, one of the things that's really sort of pulling me is just being able to give back. I'm also on the board of directors for an organization called Bridges to Home that helps with autism. They have
What's it called? Bridges
to Home. Bridges to Home. Yeah.
Where is that?
It's in California, and the hub of it is in Torrance, California. But I have a friend who's been a musician for many years who has homes for young men with autism, and he shows how the music has a very direct effect on music is very healing, man. And
Yeah,
and
totally.
I've seen kids who go from looking like they can't do anything and banging their heads on the wall, pick up a guitar and play a couple of chords, it blows your mind, or playing a few notes on the piano. And so I think music therapy is something I'd like to be more involved with. That was one of the reasons I got involved, because I felt like I'd love to be a part of the music therapy wing as that develops, for when that starts to happen. But yeah, man, I, I'm an explorer, bro. I'm still laying on my back looking at the clouds. I want to go so many places and do so many more things. I hope I got all the years left to do it.
I think you do, man. I think you do. Uh, that's very cool. It's funny when I'm the same with nature, man. And I think for me, I know it's because I grew up in such an inner city.
Yeah.
Like I just walk around my neighborhood, I'll see a bird or like a squirrel. I mean, I like squirrels, man. I think they're sounds ridiculous. I'm 57, but
No,
it's just like cool to watch it, or rabbits and stuff. Or I go out fishing sometimes. It's just,
I
I
think
didn't
we
really see that.
we lose a part of who we are when we disconnect from nature, man. We forget about our humanity and we forget that it's all connected. We forget that this earth is taking care of us, bro. We're going to return to it, man, whether by
Yeah.
ashes or however you return to it. You know, I think that's the part that I hope we draw nearer to in the future somehow, man. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I want to be a part of that.
Right on, man. Last question. And man, I can't thank you. I wish I was there, man. We'd be like, I really,
We're gonna do it. I'm gonna promise you, we're gonna do it one day. We're
I
gonna do
would
it.
really love
We're gonna
that,
do it.
man.
We're gonna do it.
Honestly, I mean, you're a very special cat, man.
Thanks,
Honestly,
man.
you're a lovely human being.
Thank you. Thank you, bro.
Uh, Biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years, and how much of that has been intentional and how much is just a part of aging?
Wow. I had a chip on my shoulder. And the reason why I said to you earlier a little bit, not an anger chip, but like, because like I said, I was fortunate enough to work with so many really, really, really great artists who we call legends, right? And then you see some of these people come along who've only been doing it for a decade or so and think that they own the world. And I think that I've sort of released it. I've sort of just realized that it's a generational thing. You know, it's been something that I had to wrestle with, and even in my personality, just not to take it so seriously or so heavy. I respect. I have so much respect and gratitude, man, for the people that came before me. And I think it disheartened me seeing this generation just throw stuff away and just sort of like treat it as garbage, as well as the people come along with it. One of the things I've had to go through in my career over the last 15 years was, even dealing with the younger, cheaper issue. People would rather,
Oh, yeah.
you know what I mean? And that can put a little pin in your side sometimes. I can't get any younger, and I definitely can't get any cheaper. And I know my value, but at the same time, I can definitely do things because of them, and I enjoy them, and without compromising myself. And I think what I've learned, especially because nobody's done anything in the last year, is to understand that be like water. It's a Bruce Lee thing, man.
Be like water.
it's easier said than done, you know. But really, man, go with the flow. Take it in stride. Be aware of your gifts and the opportunities you have before you, and know that every season, brother. One of the things we get experience in the East Coast that I don't get experience in California so much is every season, bro. You're not gonna have watermelon in January.
No, you're not.
I'm just whatever. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
there's a season for everything.
Yeah.
And this season too shall pass. And when I come out of this season, I don't want to carry any weight that's not for me to carry.
Yeah.
No bitterness. I know.
And those chips are literally weight, because you
Yeah,
don't realize it till you unload it. And it's like,
yeah,
oh,
man.
shit, what have I been doing?
Yeah, yeah. And I experienced my first panic attack about 3 or 4 months ago after my dad passed away, man. And it was heavy. I was carrying so much. I thought I was gonna die. I never had one, man. literally in Santa Barbara. I think I did. I think a part of me just died that day, and I released it. It was just
Dude.
like, I don't want to carry weight that I'm not supposed to carry anymore. I really want to live as lighthearted and the most loving. Uh, I like to be a part of the solution rather than carrying any weight about the problem at this point. I mean, there's always going to come those times, but I feel lighter. I do
Good.
feel lighter, and I feel like this is the lightness that I want to carry forward with me in everything that I do. It's not that you don't ever forget the lessons you learned along the way, the instincts you have, or the watch your back, or the this or the that, but you just move differently about it. You don't give it the way to control you or manipulate you. You just allow, it's almost like meditation. You allow thoughts to pass through constantly without judging them and without latching on to anything too much. And if something's supposed to be heard by you, you'll get it, believe me.
Yeah, totally.
Even if it's just a split second, you'll get it. You know? So it's like, okay, trusting more, and knowing that no matter if it's the best day of your life or the worst day of your life, this too shall pass.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? I think that's it,
Man, I cannot thank you. I'm so glad I got to connect with you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I can't wait till we get to do it and have a cocktail.
Yeah, man. When do you what's the next? Have you heard any
It's
Kelly, anybody, Avril?
I'm hearing all kinds of stuff, man. But realistically, nobody can be truthful about it. I mean, they even have big promoters talking about the possibility of things opening into some, but nobody really knows because we haven't had a beta. We haven't had a test run. We don't know if we put 10,000 people in a place and space them, even if 50 of them, we don't know.
Everything's unknown. Yeah, I know.
So this has literally been one of the most difficult and most important years of my life because I have to work through a lot. It hurt me financially quite a bit as well, and you just got to figure things out differently, and also what it does as well is it gives me a gratitude for my gifts, but it also makes me realize that when it's time, it'll be time. I can't rush it. You can't rush it. And I've been offered a few things, and I don't want to go out and do that because I don't feel like I don't want to put myself and people that I love in jeopardy by jumping out too fast to do something either.
Right. I totally get it.
So right now, I'm more developing some stuff.
Good.
For some up and coming artists, and like I said, I feel like right now it feels like the most organic sort of movement of the water is giving my experience to that until I hit the stage again. And I've done a couple of sessions here and there and plan on doing a lot more. But yeah, I've been asked about a couple of things that may or may not happen, and we don't know.
That should be your production company. Be Like Water. There you go.
Dude, thank you.
Hey, let me tell people where to find you. First of all, if somebody wants to, are you still doing lessons?
I am.
If somebody wants to connect with you, how do you want them to do that?
You can hit me through, you know what? It's funny because my Instagram is set up where you can message me or email me.
Great. So
then I'll give them my personal email or whatever, and they can set up lessons with me, and because I do that regularly.
Great.
But yeah, you can always DM me through my Instagram, which is at ALTBERRY.
Great.
And until my webpage is up, yeah, definitely.
Well, check. Okay, so it's Al Berry on Instagram. It's Al T Berry, ALTBERRY, as well as on Twitter. Al's webpage should be up shortly. Look out for it. It's Al Berry Music, ALBERRY Music. Hit Al up on Instagram if you're looking at interested in working with him in lessons, or am I okay to say if you're looking at some production help?
Yeah, I'm in the midst of a team right now. We're developing some potential situations for new artists who want to break into the industry. We're trying to sort of use a bit of a different platform to give greater access to more independent music. And it's a group of us trying to develop that right now. So I'm excited about the potential in that. I can't really talk about it yet, but I'm excited because, like I said, I think it's gonna help a lot of other artists avoid some of the mistakes that I have made and other people made early in their careers through either management or getting label deals too quickly, or it's so many ways that your art can get stumped, man. It's got nothing at all to do with your music. It's all business. And I've seen so much of that happen that I want to try to help other people just get that stuff out. Sometimes it's not even just to make money, but I'd like to see them get revenue, you know. But more than anything else, just I want get your music out, you know.
If you want to talk to Al about any of that stuff, you can message him on Instagram. He'll give you his email address, but give him some background so he can make at least a conclusion of, oh, this makes sense for me, or it doesn't make sense for me, but I have a buddy of mine that it might make sense for. So just, be open. And this guy's, you ain't going to find a more honest, genuine, authentic guy. So give him the same courtesy that he has given us and he will give you. Also check out his hit song. It's beautiful, man. Take the Pain Away. I can't say anything more about it. It's just a beautiful song. And anything else? Anything else I need? Anything else I could pitch for you, bro?
You know what, man? Peace and love. Love each other. Take care of your mental.
Love each other.
Smile at somebody today, please.
Thank you for everything. Hang on a second. I'll wrap up. I can't thank you enough, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please share it on your social media channels. We appreciate your support. Again, check out Al Berry on Instagram or Twitter. It's Al T Berry, alberrymusic.com, and hit him up for if you're interested in getting some consulting with him or potentially working with him in a production standpoint or a bass lessons standpoint. And thanks so much again for spending time with us. Remember, most important, man, especially nowadays, that happiness is a choice. So choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar or your bass, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I am out. Brother, thank you so much for everything.
Thank you, brother.